If you've been paying attention, you've noticed that there's a conflict going on in Iran right now. And there's a lot of new technology that's coming out, so you can watch and understand what's going on with the war in real time, almost like your own situational war room. People are also taking this and trying to make money off of it by betting in gambling markets. And there's legislation that's been introduced in our government to try to combat some of this stuff. There's a lot of perverse incentives. There's a lot of new technology that's happening, and I'm going to show you all of that in this video. I will put links to everything that I'm showing you down in the description, and I'm gathering up all the links to this stuff, and I'll post it on ericbefore.com later on today to show you everything in an organized list of all of these new technologies and the betting markets and the legislation and everything that's going behind this. So if you want to find all this stuff, you can go there and get it later. Let me show you how this story is kind of unfolding, and then I'll show you some of the tools that people are using to watch this stuff. So if you remember a few weeks ago, the United States went into Venezuela. It was unannounced and completely toppled the government there and took down Maduro in, I don't know, a few hours. It was crazy. But what else was happening there is the prediction markets kind of blew up. So if you don't know, there are prediction markets where you can bet on everything, including wars now. And that means that whoever can get information about what's happening with wars or when war operations are going to happen, they have a opportunity to make hundreds of thousands of dollars. And when Maduro was taken down, that's exactly what happened. One trader apparently made $430,000 or more, and there were others that bet on this by placing interesting bets right before Maduro was taken out and made tons of money and were paid out on sites like Polymarket. Well, people noticed this, and there's a representative. Let's see here. What's his name? Richie Torres and about 30 other representatives, I think, in Congress introduced a bill to say, hey, we have an emerging problem here. We have betting markets that are popping up, and now people are betting on them in war situations. And you don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand that this creates some really, really perverse incentives, which we'll talk about later. But they introduced this bill. I don't know if it's passed or not yet. I'm always a little bit skeptical when I see congressmen and congresswomen and senators passing bills about insider trading in general, because you know they all do it. And this one's on insider trading when it comes to war operations. Think about things like the pizza index. These are not necessarily new. People have been watching how many pizzas are being ordered in and around the Pentagon to kind of predict when war operations are going to happen in the United States for years now. But now this is taken to a whole nother level with people's ability to aggregate data and use AI tools to build tools like I'm going to show you here in a second. So this really popped off this weekend because I think it was on either Friday night or early Saturday morning, the United States and Israel launched strikes on Iran, and the prediction markets kind of blew up and says roughly 529 million was bet on a collection of polymarket contracts linked to the timing of the US Israeli strikes in Iran, which ultimately occurred on Saturday. According to the blockchain analytics from Bubble Maps, 6 accounts were able to make $1.2 million, including one which joined the platform in February, had never placed a bet on any other topic, and earned around $500,000. It's a little suspicious if you ask me. I think the guy's name was like MAGA. Yeah, MAGA my man. Among the accounts that reaped heavy rewards for Iran related prediction was one trading under the username MAGA my man, which made over $500,000 betting on the timing of Iran Supreme Leader, the Ayatollah Khomeini's betting on his ouster. The cleric was killed during Sunday's Saturday joint strikes in Iran. Now let's take a look at some of the sites people are making to look at this stuff. With somebody like me who's really into technology and I'm building tools all the time, it's kind of weird, but these are some beautiful sites with some beautiful data aggregation. Let me show you the first one. So look at this. This is CentCon. Um, I will give you the links to all of these again in the description and on ericbefore.com, but you can kind of see what's happening in real time here. You have a beautiful map. You can look at what's happening at different ports and runways and airports. There's all sorts of stuff happening here. You can zoom in and get more detail. You can see over Iran right now. It's all in red, and these people are aggregating data from all over the place and putting it in a visualizer like this, where you can see what's happening almost in real time. Almost. you can only trust this data so much. Let me show you another one. This is my favorite. This is like a Bloomberg terminal for war. Um, this is an incredible site. I'll post the link to the guy who made this. He's got a Twitter account, and this is really kind of blowing up. But again, you have a map that will show you different conflict zones. You can go in and look at the air traffic and how it completely reroutes around Iran. You can zoom into the Strait of Hormuz here, and you can actually see the ship traffic and which ships are being let through. So if you zoom in on here, you can see which ships are being stopped and which ships aren't. There are some maps that show that Russian and Chinese ships are being allowed to come through this strait, but Western ships are not. Who knows how true this is? But you can see how people are looking at this and aggregating data, and they're not doing this just because this is a really cool way to watch what's happening with the war. I mean, who needs to know what's happening on a news channel when you have something like this that gives you all of the news channel and then every statistic or fact you could possibly want to know about the war below here? I highly recommend you go to sites like this and check them out because it's kind of mind-blowing. One thing about these sites is these militaries aren't stupid. You know, they probably turn off their tracking radars and stuff like that, that are showing where their ships and airplanes are precisely located. But you can still get a lot of information about what's happening in financial markets, in commodities, all by looking at this one website. And where people are doing is they're looking at stuff like this, and then they're going to sites like, let me see here, the Polymarket site. So this is a site where you can go in and bet on stuff. So this is a bet you could have made on Khamenei out as supreme leader of Iran by February 28th. This one's done because apparently that's been confirmed and he's no longer with us. But there are other things you can go bet on here, and this is what people are doing. Now let me talk a little bit about the perverse incentives. If you were looking at a map like this, now imagine that you are in a war room in Washington, or imagine you're in a war room somewhere in the Middle East, in Iran, or with one of the other Gulf states, and you can actually see what's happening in real time. You're literally watching missiles fly overhead. Now imagine you are a soldier for one of these countries who are involved in this conflict, and you have access to your phone with an internet connection and a Polymarket account, or maybe a relative with a Polymarket account, and you can call in and even maybe have other people that make bets for you and say, hey, I know that these missiles are about to launch in about an hour. There's these bets on Polymarket that can be affected. Go ahead and place some bets across those and pay out. I don't know what the regulatory situation is like with sites like Polymarket, but this stuff is, in my mind, amazing and pretty scary at the same time. And I'm going to look into it much more, especially on what's actually happening with the data and what is true and what is not true with the data that you're seeing on these sites. But anyway, that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. Is this site, for example, was vibe coded, I think, in a matter of a few hours or a couple of days and put up and went live. And there's more that are popping up all the time that visualize these conflicts in a different way. So this is very different than the way it used to be, where you would turn on CNN and they would have a hour-long show at night that would tell you what's happening with the war. With this combined with X feeds, you can see what's going on in real time. And unfortunately, go make money off of it if you can get the data before the markets update. So that's all. Go check out ericbefore.com if you like this type of stuff, the intersection of technology and all sorts of other things. Subscribe to the channel because I look at this stuff all day. Thanks, and I'll talk to you all tomorrow.